Namaskar, all of you, and welcome to this new exciting show of Sathology. Today, we have a very special guest and has joined from right from across the Earth planet. Like if you look at the United States and you drill straight into the whole, actually, you have to go sideways towards the Pacific, and then you're going to reach another part of the, it's literally down. It's another continent, one of the smallest continents on the world. It's an island continent, also people call it, and it's our ally, American ally. Great friendship in US and this country. You've already guessed it, it's Australia. So we have an Aussie joining from Australia, Melbourne, and teaching us about his passion for mathematics from Bharat. So it's a very unique situation here. I hope all of you will enjoy this show, and I'll make it light because even though it's mathematics, I'll try to make it very interesting for all of you. So let us welcome Jonathan Crabtree.
Namaskar to you. Thank you, and hello to everyone watching.
Yeah. So Jonathan, you're so bright. I can see freshness. You've been just. I think is it morning for you? 9.
Yes, it's morning.
Morning. Okay. And so we have, I think 9 o'clock in the morning or 9:30 in the morning.
Well, where I am, it's around about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. So we are in San Diego, which is 6 p.m. right now, 6:15. So before we start off, and why don't you talk about yourself? How does your passion come in mathematics, and how did you discover your love for Vedic mathematics and the ancient mathematic principles?
That's a very good question, because I never really had any interest in mathematics. I never set out to become a mathematics researcher or historian. It literally happened quite by accident. I had noticed problems with the foundations of mathematics when I was 7 years old in grade 2, class 2, where I noticed that there was India's 0 was missing from my school teacher's explanation of mathematics. That confused me, and I noticed problems with mathematics that made me think that I was stupid. I found myself many years later, moving from the age of 7, I was age 21, and I was in hospital with a broken spine, and I was told if I moved, I'd never walk again. And so I made a promise that if I could get a miracle of being able to walk again, that I'd give back in return a miracle of fixing mathematics. And so it was a very strange situation. It was just that I had this intuition that the things were not right in the way that mathematics had been explained for the best part of, 1,000 years. And I regained my health. I got my own miracle. So I thought it only appropriate that I deliver on my promise to God that I made in the emergency ward of a hospital, that I would work on trying to fix mathematics to keep my promise. And so here I am now, 37 years later, starting to get noticed by people.
So when people talk about mathematics, they get goosebumps. Some people get scared about mathematics, and some people are really worried about mathematics. But there is one thing in Vedic mathematics that makes counting very easy. I mean, the Vedic mathematics is wired to the brain and the logical construct of a human mind, the way human mind works. So since you are a student of both, so according to you, what is the main difference between the two?
Well, I have to define my concept of Vedic mathematics is based in the writings of people like Aryabhata and Brahmagupta, Bhaskaracharya, and others, where there's extant literature. And these people were typically astronomers, and they were empirical observers of how the universe worked. They were looking out at the planets, they were looking at the physical world, and they were developing mathematics to make sense of our physical world. So in the physical world, our universe is made up of matter and energy. And it's impossible in our universe to have any quantity of matter or energy that's less than zero. And the Vedic mathematics of Brahmagupta in particular recognizes that there are no quantities or numbers that are less than zero. And yet the way that the West teaches mathematics is it's entirely a work of fiction, because they say that numbers represent counts or measures of quantities, which is all understood. But in the real world, it's impossible to have any quantity that's less than nothing. And yet they say negative numbers are less than nothing. So very soon in our mathematical journey, when we start to be introduced to ideas like negative numbers, we're told things that don't make any sense whatsoever. And then what we're told is that you must obey these rules and laws. Now, we're children. We don't want to break the rules or get locked up for breaking laws. So we obediently put aside our common sense and just go along with the Western program that talks a lot of nonsense based on philosophical ideas and abstract concepts which we do not see with our eyes. We do not experience them in our world. So the main difference with the mathematics curriculum I've developed from those mathematician astronomers is everything that I teach is common sense. It's intuitive and it's really, really simple. So ideas that currently confuse mathematics teachers of very senior mathematics students, those ideas can be understood by little children now.
I'm glad that you are helping remove fear of many Americans towards STEM, science, technology, education, and mathematics. Many people deal with that here in America. So now my next point that I'd like to make is, you mentioned the word astronomy, and the astronomical sciences are very well defined in the Vedic culture. In fact, the movement of moon, movement of sun, and the movement related to the earth, they've been so accurately captured that those calculations meet NASA's calculation also nowadays. So NASA has to validate practically against the Vedic conclusions in those sciences. And so, but the more and more newer people, like when I meet people who are practicing Vedic mathematics in US, it's a big subject matter everywhere, even in the NASA nowadays, where they try to see a simple man can do a large calculation in a fraction of seconds, virtually at the same time as a calculator. Sometimes it takes on a calculator longer than actually calculating mentally in a Vedic science. What is the difference between how does that make it so fast?
Well, I will have to depart the narrative a little, because I don't teach calculation techniques. They are a consequence of the foundational ideas that you put in place. So when I began my journey back in 1983, one of the first things I looked into were all of the books on high-speed maths. And so I looked into Trachtenberg mathematics, I looked into Vedic mathematics, I read all of the books on the 16 sutras of calculation. But I have to be truthful to you, they didn't give me what I was looking for. I was still confused by the principles, the actual definitions of the basic operations. The multiplication definition is actually broken, has been for hundreds of years. The concepts of negative numbers and positive numbers, those conflicts that have been around basically since the 9th century, those conflicts weren't resolved by Vedic mathematics. So I wasn't, and look, I practiced Vedic mathematics, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed learning it, and I was able to multiply two 10-digit numbers together in my head. But here's the point. I didn't feel any genuine insight come to me that I had found what I was looking for. So I started off at Vedic mathematics 37 years ago, and then I kept looking. So what I've done now is I've come full circle. I've come back to the Sanskrit mathematics, the shlokas of India, And what I now do is I provide all of the foundations that are missing before the Vedic mathematics curricula really kicks in. So at the moment, the reputation of Vedic mathematics is unfortunate because it's mainly focused on the high-speed tricks, and you often see 98 multiplied by 99 or whatever it may well be in video clips. They often disparagingly call it magic. What I'm doing is I'm laying all the conceptual foundations down first. So from grade 1, children at the age of about 6 years of age will start to play with positive and negative numbers. They won't necessarily know it. They'll be doing games that are actually consistent with the logic that India created. And then we start to count the objects and the actions in the game, and then the algorithms start to emerge from common sense. So what I'm saying is that the Vedic mathematics techniques that give you confidence to do calculation are great, but at the moment you can still learn all of the Vedic mathematics sutras and calculations and still not have the correct Indian foundational ideas underneath them. Most people who practice the 16 sutras of Vedic mathematics, they still go along with negative numbers being less than 0. And no Indian astronomer ever said such a thing. So it took me a really long time. I've looked at cultures in mathematics in ancient Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, Arabic, Hebrew, French, German, Italian, Russian, Dutch, Czech, Spanish, Mandarin. All of these languages I was hunting for the structure of mathematics. And really, it's kind of like I've audited mathematics. I've said, if we were to rebuild mathematics, how would we do it better next time? Because my background was a management consultant. So it's taken me decades to pull all of this insight together. And so I'm saying that the Indian way is fundamentally different from the Western approach, and it's fundamentally intuitive and amazingly simple. And if you want, I can give you a very simple demonstration that will just make it obvious what I'm talking about.
Sure. One question, and then you can show us a demonstration. And then we will continue to invite you back on the channel because I see the questions coming out right now. So the people have a lot of questions. So one of the things which is mentioned, and I think this person is from somewhere in the Middle East. He is asking us, he's an American, Middle Eastern American student. He's asking that when they say Arabic, and he is a big lover of India, so I would like to give him credit there. So, but he says that the Wikipedia mentions Hindu Arabic numerals. What is the history behind that?
Well, the interesting thing is that all cultures really started to have their numerals as letters of the alphabet. So the Greeks, for example, they didn't have digits separate to their letters. They simply used letters of their Greek alphabet in their number system. It was the same in Hebrew mathematics. They used letters of the Hebrew alphabet for their numbers. The Arabic world used letters. So it was the Hindu numerals was the first time people created a set of symbols that was different from the letters of, at that time, Sanskrit and other languages. So what we also knew is that the Arabic world of the 9th century, around about the time of Al-Khwarizmi and others, they were very used to Roman numerals due to the activities of the Roman Empire. And in Roman numerals, it's very confusing because in Roman numerals, the number 6 is VI. And yet reading it the other way around, because the Arabic world reads in the opposite direction to the west, they may well see, is it VI or is it IV? So they couldn't tell a difference between 6 or 4 with Roman numerals. And all of a sudden, there was a single symbol from the Hindu numerals that was totally obvious what the number represented. And more importantly, it had the power of base 10 notations, place value, base 10 notation. And the Arabic world picked up on the usefulness of having zero as a placeholder. Now, unfortunately, the Arabic world got all of the basic arithmetic from India correctly, but it didn't get the algebraic laws of sign that Brahmagupta documented. So the Arabic world was very excited by the Hindu numerals. Al-Khwarizmi wrote a book about them. They were very important in the transmission of Hindu arithmetic on the way to the West. But however, they didn't pass it all on, and the ideas of zero and negative numbers were left pretty much behind in the travels of zero westward.
Yeah, I think many of these. Thank you for answering that question in detail. Uh, so one last point which people are asking here is, so when did the so when we people talk about and I liked your point that the numbers are written in words instead of a symbol for that, and the Hindu numerals or Vedic numerals is more symbol based after Aryabhatta and Brahmagupta. When was there a chance, or when was the time in history where the traders who are coming to Bharat for trading spices and other things, and obviously they must have met the Indian system of calculation. Trade has been there for a long time, and there is a transformation of knowledge about economy, the way the economy was structured in India with hard currencies, a good banking system which was localized. Obviously, that would have used a lot of numbers over there. So how did that transmission happen, through the Arabic traders or through, how did that happen overall?
Well, the story of mathematics as we currently have it documented is that pretty much the mathematics went from Binmal in northwestern India from Brahmagupta. His information went to Baghdad in the House of Wisdom, headed up by Al-Khwarizmi. And from Al-Khwarizmi, there were Arabic traders who were trading in northern Africa and Nachi. So it started off in the 7th century in India, it then went into the 9th century Baghdad, House of Wisdom, Al-Khwarizmi. Then it went to northern Africa, and in the late 1100s, early 1200s, Leonardo Pisano Fibonacci was there with his father, and Fibonacci fell in love with the Indian way of doing the mathematics. So Fibonacci then took it back to Italy, wrote a book called Liber Abaci, the book of the abacus, or the book of calculation. And that was the second time the Hindu numeral system was introduced into Europe. And it was this book that was instrumental in starting to spread the Hindu system throughout Europe. It still took many centuries before it fully made its way to England and the British Empire. But unfortunately, by the time it got to Robert Record in the British Empire, and we're in the 16th century now, the ideas of zero and negative numbers and Brahmagupta's original rule book of the laws of mathematics were well and truly lost. And so then, due to the activities of the British Empire through their settlements and colonies, what I call an infected, it's almost like mathematics became a virus because it was spread with the wrong ideas. So all of the world understanding at the moment of what we think is Hindu mathematics, some people call it the Hindu-Arabic system because of the Arabic world being the messengers, and they did do some improvements along the way. It's actually we've really got to go back to zero and bring back the laws of Brahmagupta, and then suddenly all of the ideas that confuse people are totally erased, and there's no more fear of mathematics. And that's one of the reasons why I really talk about Bharatiya Mathematics, or my curriculum, which is called Podometic, which is the upgrade of arithmetic. So when I go into India and I teach students, they don't worry because they play Podo and it's all fun and games. And they're learning Podometic, which is basically the ancient Indian understanding of mathematics.
Yeah, thank you for that deep dive into the history here. Now, I give you the forum to you to show us a demo.
Okay, look, very, very simply, when we're very little children, we have maybe by grade 1, we're told to do things like 5 minus 2, 5 take away 2. And we're told, and we play and we learn that 5 minus 2 equals 3. And we might learn that in grade 1, class 1. But we don't get taught what's 2 minus 5 for another 6 years. And we need to teach 2 minus 5 at the same time we teach 5 minus 2, because all of the simple ways that we do that are based on the ancient Bharatiya culture. So if we go back to the Harappan civilization or the Indus Valley civilization, they used bricks and they were famous for their brick making in the Harappan civilization. So let's have a game with children where in this game they imagine they have a bucket and a spade and they are brick makers. So they dig a hole and they make a brick from the contents that was in the hole. So for every brick, there is one hole. Now let's assume in this game, those children have got 2 bricks, but somebody wants to buy 5 bricks. They want to take away 5 bricks that day, but the child's only got 2. So what does the child do? The child will dig 3 holes to make 3 more bricks. And then the child has got the 5 bricks are taken away by the purchaser, and the child is left with 3 holes. So from 2 minus 5, you've got 2 bricks, you want to take away 5 bricks. Don't have enough bricks. So from ground level 0, you dig 3 holes and you get 3 more bricks, and now you've got the 5 bricks to sell. The 5 bricks are taken away, and what you're left with is 3 holes. Children will understand that game, and that game is a model of Brahmagupta's mathematics, which is very simple, bricks and holes, and those games start from class 1. So there's no confusion about negative numbers. A hole is just equal and opposite to the brick that came out of the hole.
Fantastic. It's such a remarkable example you gave. You know, it just goes straight into my head that what we have been teaching is so wrong. You know, and I think that will be our biggest contribution to the whole world, to rewire the brain to think in a more simpler way of looking at things. And thank you. I liked one of your video was the death of arithmetic, and I really liked your video that you put over there. And so, Jonathan, we'll talk about it next week or next couple of days, the death of arithmetic. And the topic itself was sold out to me, the way you presented over there. Viewers, thank you for watching. Jonathan speaking, the Aussie speaking, I'll call it the Bharatiya Aussie from Melbourne, speaking to us about mathematics of Brahmagupta and Aryabhatta. So it's a pleasure to see you. It's a pleasure to talk to you. And my viewers are already asking many questions on a Friday evening. But so please hang on to it, and we will come back again with another episode of this series. Namaskar, and thank you all very much.